You know what? Everyone loves a good comeback story. That's why I had the audacity to wear a Chicago Bear shirt on camera, because sometimes you just want to believe. And that's how I feel about DC Studios today. Hey you guys, how's it going? Welcome back. It's Mia, and today I want to take some time to talk about James Gunn and Peter Safran's new plan and new vision for the DC universe. This is just sort of me off the cuff here. I could have wrote a script, but nobody's got time for that. I just wanted to dive into this announcement that he made, James Gunn, about the DC universe and kind of see how I feel about it. So I think it's rather bold for James Gunn to just kind of come out the gate and be like, DC hasn't been that great in their storytelling. It's been kind of discombobulated all over the place. But he's right to say it, right? Sometimes you just gotta appreciate the honesty. It's like, hey, we all know why we're here. There's a big elephant in the room here, so we gotta address some things. It's bold, but I like it. I like that direction. So I've discussed this before, talking about how I do think that it is good that they're finally pulling together some sort of direction here, some sort of ringleader just to keep the show working and running cohesively. And so I'm having hope, because he says this is going to span out from the next 8 to 10 years. And so, yeah, what they have here is the first 10 interconnected DC Studios projects, 5 movies and 5 HBO Max TV series. Yes, we said interconnected. That makes me wonder, though, because he was talking about a couple of animated series, or maybe one in it. There's an animated series. Okay, just one planned animated series right now, which is just Creature Commandos. And he was talking about, he was saying, what we're doing with the DCU is we're having animation tied directly into live action. So we really haven't gotten this kind of like what if, but it's never been the way he said it. He says we're going to cast actors that are going to be able to play the characters in this, as well as other things, some of which you've already cast. So kind of saying television, movies, and games all intertwined within the same universe, which is making me ask that question: how much of this is going to be required viewing? Because it was already a big question with the MCU. Like, if we make these TV shows, are people like actually going to have to start watching them? Like, you got to watch WandaVision to understand Doctor Strange, or kind of you got to watch Loki to understand Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. So it's kind of like, is animation going to be required viewing? I'm thinking no. Not to stigmatize animation, but you know, there's not always an audience for animation, so I'm just wondering that. But I mean, based off of this, it doesn't look like it's gonna be too much required watching, at least compared to the other series and shows that they have going on here. And just to back it up a little bit, I do kind of like as well that they have kind of contained what they're calling, you know, these outside films. So like they were talking about the Joker universe, or Matt Reeves' the Batman universe. They're like, we're gonna call this DC Elseworlds, just to give it a name. And I like that. I think that is perfectly fine. And I've been thinking like, hey, I even think the Marvel universe and maybe even Star Wars, kind of how they have the Mandalorian universe, I'm like, maybe it's just the organizer in me, but I'm like, we need to get organizing and we need to get compartmentalizing these specific universes, just so we can kind of have a way to know what we're watching and why we're watching it and how everything flows and connects to one another. Because at this point, we all know that connectivity is king. These big universes, they want to have interconnected, but we still need, just like the comic books, just like how comic books have their own sort of run and their own title, we need compartmentalization here. And so I think this sounds like it's on the right track. Now, also going off of that, I was surprised to hear him talk about, you know, we've got some, I've been calling them these hanger movies, right? These last couple of movies coming off of the old world, old DCEU, which is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Then we've got the Flash movie, and then we've got the Aquaman sequel. And so with these 3 movies, I thought essentially they were just going to be like, these movies that are coming out, we're just going to have them come out, and that is going to be that. But it sounds like they're trying to make them a little bit wrapped up into their universe, which I think it's good, salvage those parts. So, for example, James Gunn kind of gave Shazam the pass. He's like, yeah, they're kind of doing their own thing anyway, which that's kind of what I thought. So he was like, Shazam is fine as far as I know. Zachary Levi, fine as far as I know. And then he went so far as to say that the Flash resets the DC universe. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the intention when they created the movie, so I am now more curious than ever to see what they mean by this reset and how they are, maybe they edited some things around, changed. I don't know, but I am curious, despite the fact that Ezra Miller, I'm so curious now that kind of overcomes everything else. And then with Aquaman, again, he didn't make it seem like they're throwing it to the wayside. It just kind of sounded like this is there and so be it. So good for Jason Momoa. They kind of saved his butt, but we'll see. There's really no hint of Aquaman as a lead in these next couple of films, so we'll see what happens to him. So let's take a look at this. Let's be honest, we all know I'm no DC fanboy here. I just kind of I like it as they come, or I don't. So most of these, I'm gonna be for real, most of these don't really stick out to me as anything where I'm just going absolutely completely bonkers over. I think number one, what sticks out to me is Superman Legacy. Like, we've been trying for so long to get Superman to be cool again. So James Gunn says he's currently writing this. Safran wants him to direct it. That's interesting, but it's not an origin story. They say it focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. Superman represents truth, justice, in the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks of kindness as old-fashioned. Aw, he didn't say that in the video. Aw. But also they're talking about these shades of gray. Wow, a Superman movie? And wow, 2025. I think it might have been a Tumblr post or something talking about how Clark Kent is just this, Midwestern cinnamon roll from Kansas. And I was like, yeah, I think that's what was missing from Henry Cavill's Superman. He was just so cold. He acted like he grew up his entire life, on Krypton. And so he felt like an alien, when in fact it's like, you're gonna tell me if you were born and raised on planet Earth, you're not gonna act like an Earthling. They pulled that off pretty well with Loki, right? Maybe it's not the best analogy, but someone who was from another realm, then he grows up in Asgard. He was pretty much an Asgardian. So that's what I want to happen here with Superman, is let him be a human again. Let's see what happens when he finds that humanity. And even though there's going to be some gray areas, listen, Henry Cavill Superman snapping Zod's neck, that was a black area. That was no gray area. But we'll see what they do with this. I guess the second thing, maybe this was the first thing that stood out to me, but I am definitely interested in this Batman, the Brave and the Bold, just with the fact that we've got Damian Wayne, because, Bat Family, right? Batman's actual son that he didn't know existed for the first 8 to 10 years of his life. That's going to be something. And I had seen a lot of people who were like, Pattinson should have, the Robin in this universe. I've been like, absolutely not. I don't trust him with a Robin whatsoever. So I think this is cool. I absolutely love the whole Batman and Robin run back in the, 90s and stuff like that. And I loved Batgirl as well. So I want this to be fleshed out. I think that they could do a good job. And according to James Gunn, it's based on the Grant Morrison comic run, which is one of his favorite Batman runs. That makes no difference to me since I'm not a comic book fan, but good for him. I'll be honest, this Paradise Lost does sound kind of interesting to me. Them talking about it being a Themyscira kind of Game of Thrones type of show coming on HBO Max. This involves all the darkness, drama, and political intrigue behind the Society of Only Women. So it doesn't look like it's going to feature Wonder Woman. They say the events really take place before Diana's birth. So I'm into it. I like Game of Thrones. I hope it's not too derivative of Game of Thrones, but I think I guess the best thing I can say is I'm open to it, right? James Gunn says it's an origin story about how the Society of Women came about. Doesn't need to be mean? Okay, whatever. What does it mean? What are their politics like? What are their rules? Who's in charge? What are the games that they play with each other? Kind of sounds like a man wrote this. What happens if women all come together on an island and make the rules? Well, there's a reason it's called Paradise, my good sir. Anyway, that just sounds kind of crazy. And, okay, I guess I will also say this Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow talked about it being a kind of sci-fi-ish movie. So he's talking about, in this story, you have Superman who was sent to Earth, raised by incredibly loving parents, and then Kara was on Krypton. She was on a piece of Krypton that drifted away from the planet she lived. And for the 14 years of her life, it's been horrible. She had to watch everyone around her die. So she's much harsher, more effed up Supergirl than you've been used to thus far. Ooh, that's kind of giving Joss Whedon. I'm a little afraid about that one, but you know, maybe if we can, I don't know. I said I was into it, but I think, hey, if we're going to talk about Game of Thrones here, if you can make her a character maybe like Arya Stark, have her be that kind of bolden female warrior, then I'm here for it. It sounds a little cringe, but I think, I don't know, maybe they can clean it up. Everything else, yeah, interesting. Like this Amanda Waller story, it always seemed to me like Viola Davis never wanted to actually, or never like actually wants to appear in any of these things. So like whenever you see her, it's maybe for like a couple of seconds or minutes here and there. So I'm surprised that she would agree to an Amanda Waller story. This basically follows up to Peacemaker. Oh, but I want a Peacemaker season 2. This series will sit between season 1 and season 2. Okay, I'm happy again. And then the Lanterns. I mean, DC ruined Green Lantern so much that I have like 0 expectations for this, so they can do whatever and it'll probably be good. The Authority kind of sounds like Eternals-ish to me. You know, these group of otherworldlies trying to fix the Earth. Sure, I don't really know. Booster Gold. We'll see about that. He's a loser from the future who uses basic future technology to come back today and pretend to be a superhero. I guess I can see with James Gunn's sort of humor, they can make it work. It seems like a Ryan Reynolds type of film, but we'll keep him out of this. And then Swamp Thing, making it horror. Now, we'll see how they carry that out. If they can make it kind of horror-like, that would be awesome. I don't think Marvel has the capacity to make anything horror. DC does because they can be darker and edgier. They allow themselves to be darker and edgier. So I will also give them the kind of benefit of my ahness. So that is chapter 1, DCU Gods and Monsters. I guess you can call this their phase 1. Perhaps. We'll see. We've got a long way to go. We've got some of these fresh movies coming out in 2025, so that's when the tide will start to turn with this new DCU. I guess all I can have is optimism for this and just kind of see how things begin to roll out as time goes on. But I'm not upset. I'm not angry. I'm not some kind of yelling and shaking my fist at James Gunn for taking away the Snyderverse. I actually thank him for doing that, but maybe I should leave it here before I get too crazy. So let me know what you guys think about this upcoming slate, what you're excited for. In Gunn we trust. Is that where we're going here? I'd like to believe so just for now, because I'm like, look, they need anything to help them out. So yeah, please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this discussion, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.